me.
Let's take a slight right turn to merge onto I-285 South.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Tell me a little bit. Did anyone by chance watch Andy's interview today? Anyone catch Andy's interview with Hara?
No, Bill, I didn't catch it. Hopefully it's taped.
Yeah, I believe it's already been posted. I just didn't get a chance to see it today. All right, let's talk a little bit about what we're doing well and what we're not doing so well, and then we'll kind of see where the conversation takes us. Yeah, how are you?
Me, I'm doing well. I don't know why you can't see me. Something's going on with my video. I don't have it blocked, but I'm not sure what's going on. I'm doing well. I'm just trying to get through this closing on my house, and really, it's been great training because I have no idea what I'm doing.
All right,
so much easier.
This is your buyer or your seller? I'm trying to remember.
No, this is for me, my own house.
Ah, okay, okay.
Yes. So it's been great training because I have no idea what I'm doing.
Okay, well, you have a whole community of people that are here to walk you through stuff.
Yeah.
Anything you need to talk about right now?
Well, I'm going to closing on Tuesday. I just don't know if there's any documents that I need to bring so everyone at KW gets paid. So I sent an email to Lee Fox, and I guess I'll hear back from her because I have no idea.
They're in the middle of transmittal right now. Transmittal is basically when they close the books for the month and then do all their reporting. So it's usually pretty stressful right around this time. However, what she's probably going to say to you is if you put together what's called a pay at close will be what's called a DA, or a distribution authorization or disbursement authorization, and they send that to the closing attorney, and then the closing attorney cuts checks to everyone that is in need of a check. If for some reason you don't do that ahead of time, which is totally fine, then they'll just hand you all the checks at the closing table, and then you bring those back to the office, and then we recut everything to you.
Okay.
Okay. But you can do a pay at close, so as long as all of your documents are in DocuSign and available for review and all that stuff.
Okay. Hopefully I did everything right. We'll see.
Okay. Well, you can just ask her, say, hey, does everything look okay? Do you need anything in order to complete a pay at close?
So now that the office is closed, if they do happen to hand me the check, I just go there and drop it in one of those boxes?
Yep. There's instructions on all that on these newsletters, I believe. And we're all getting tested and our results back. And if everyone is clear, we may start back again, but I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
Only one person's got their test results back and they were clear. So
good.
We're waiting on everyone else.
So Bill, is it the same commission split if you sell your own house as it is if you're selling someone else's house?
You mean to the office?
Yes.
No, we have a policy in place for that. And essentially the way that works is, I'll tell you what the policy is, and then I'll tell you how to qualify for the policy. So the policy is that you're allowed two personal transactions. They can be buys or sells or both or whatever, 2 per year at no fee to the market center. No fee to the market center, the 30%. You do still have to pay the 6% to KW if you're not capped, but you get 2 of those per year. That's if you take a commission. So it can kind of get a little hairy depending on, quote, if you take a commission or not. And Lee and Aaron can walk you through exactly how it should be broken down. We do have a policy in place right now that says that in order to qualify for that, you have to have contributed a total of $5,000 to the market center over the course of a lifetime. What we ended up having a couple of years ago was we had a couple of agents that would get their license, they'd join us, we'd give them a free transaction when they sold their home, and then we never heard from them again. And so that policy was put into place to prevent that. And if you have not yet contributed $5,000 in company dollar, which is essentially just like one roughly $400,000 home ever, right? Then rather than charging the 30%, we just charge a flat fee of $1,000. So you should never have to pay the full 30%. There would be just a series of ways that it would be less than 30%, if not completely free. Okay. I'm sure I've sufficiently confused you, and I get it. 9 times out of 10, when somebody approaches me with this, I got to go to Aaron anyway and just triple check. So if you have a specific question about what it would look like for you, then Aaron is the best person to speak with. She is the smartest person in the building. Okay.
So the information has to go to Lee and Aaron, or just Lee?
Aaron would basically be the person that would, like in the case of transacting your own personal thing, like exactly how numbers work, is essentially the engine behind it. So once Aaron says this is how it goes, Lee is generally the one that puts it into action.
Okay. All right.
Make sense?
Yes.
All right. Okay. Tell me a little bit about your days yesterday. For those that were not in the room all day long for Bold 100, did you make a commitment? I know we had a pretty much wide open day schedule wise. Did you make a commitment to make some extra calls than you're used to making? Anyone get any good results?
Yeah, I've actually got 3 buyers in the future, but I did hook them up with, getting pre-qualified, and then I've got 2 potential sellers that are coming up as well. But
okay.
One of them's got to wait for they're scared of COVID and everything associated with that, so they're not going to allow anybody.
COVID, wait for 6 months.
Right.
Sell now.
Yeah. I mean, they're not going to sell this year, guaranteed, because they won't even go outside their own house.
Okay, let me come back to that. I've got a lot of concern about that. I want to touch on a point that you made a second ago. With respect to the buyers, when you said you connected them with a lender, I just want to pick that apart for just a second, give you some advice. You may have already done this perfectly, but I want to make sure you're doing it a certain way. Don't just give the name and number of the lender to the buyer. That's not going to be particularly effective usually. What I always recommend is either a 3-way email or a 3-way text connecting, hey Kathy, this is my future client. His name is Steve, and Steve's married to Mary, and they're looking to buy a 4-bedroom home in Woodstock, before the end of the year. Steve and Mary, this is my favorite mortgage specialist, Kathy Vitale with Shelter Home Mortgage. She would love to explain the mortgage process to you and go through a series of steps to help you prepare properly and get all your questions answered. Here's Kathy's information. Here's Mary and Steve's information. Please let me know if I can help in any way. Then you send that off into the world, and Kathy, who is a assertive professional who's super organized, is going to reach out to that person directly and control that interaction. If you don't give her the opportunity to do so, it's almost certainly not going to happen. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yep, makes sense. Thanks.
Everyone follow that?
So I do have a question about that. I thought that when I was in Ignite, Melba said that we should, for anything like that, we should recommend multiple, like 3.
So have a sheet that says, here are my favorite 3 realtors, or I'm sorry, lenders. That's probably the safest way to do it. And then you put the person you really want them to call at the top. Right.
Okay.
So these are my favorite
kind of
3,
what I have.
these are my favorite 3 lenders. And what's probably going to happen is, and you copy all of them on there, and they can all compete.
Oh, okay. That sounds good.
And you can do that. What I would suggest is, gosh, I might disagree with Melba a little bit on this. I think there's kind of 2 stages. The first stage is to get just a general pre-qualification. We want to know, can this person afford to buy a home? Can they do it now? Or do they need to wait a certain amount of time? Or do they need to do something in particular to get prepared? How long is that going to take? I don't really think they need to go speak to 10 lenders to do that. They can pretty much speak to 1. And then once they get the information, okay, we're going to do a 5% down conventional loan. Then we're going to, it's going to be up to 280. Then there'll be plenty of time later for them to shop the loan. So you might say, Kathy's a great resource on the front end to make sure that you have some generalized questions answered about the mortgage process. And then you may even say, include, I'm going to take back what I said a second ago. Let's start fresh. Do the three-way message, just like I explained before, and copy the buyer prospect and Kathy. And in the body of the message, you say, you know, Kathy's a great resource at the preliminary stage of the purchasing process, and she can answer all your generalized questions about the market and about how to prepare and what a possible budget will be. As we get closer and closer to the contract and through the getting quotes on the mortgage, I can introduce you to several other lenders to compete. Okay, that way Kathy's kind of on notice that it's not just going to be a slam dunk, which is good. Not that we need to threaten her in any way, right? And you're not like implying that like it's not appropriate to shop the loan later. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay, any thoughts or questions on that? Okay, just remember, the more control that you or your network can have in continuing that conversation, the better likelihood that you're going to get that piece of business, right? So another good example would be, okay, Joe Schmo needs a painter. So you copy and do a three-way text with that Joe Schmo and the painter and introduce them that way. Then the painter will reach out. Or the painter needs to be reminded, hey, I'm going to refer you. Or I just sent a three-way text and you call the guy out, behind the scenes or text him behind the scenes and say, don't screw this up. You screw it up, we're never talking again. Clear? Okay. It's so strange to talk to like a bunch of black screens. Can anyone show me their face today?
Yeah, I'm just driving.
Okay.
I would love to. I don't know what's wrong with my computer.
All right, thank you. Okay, any more detail that you want me to go into with respect to referring vendors or moving the process along for your consumers? Okay. See, I'll give you another example. Let's say you're working with a seller and the seller needs an electrician. Okay, seller needs to do an electrical project prior to, oh, there you go, Kim. I see some color. Seller needs to do some little electrical project before the home gets listed. Okay. Option A is you just give the seller the contact information. Here, go call Bill's electrical company, right? I'll tell you if you need to look, Liz. You just focus on the road. Option one would be you just give the seller, Bill's electrical company 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 is the number, right? And who knows if that person is ever going to call that electrician. Option B, which is a lot more strong, is the electrician and the seller are then combined on a three-way text, and you introduce the two people. Then you reach out to the electrician, or the electrician should already know this because you've done this many times before. You just call the electrician and say, hey, this is Brian. I just introduced you to a prospective seller of mine. I'd really appreciate it if you could reach out to this person right away and see if you can help this woman. Right? So then, because the electrician was the most aggressive electrician of all the ones that they've been introduced to, they tie you to that person. That will increase your likelihood of securing that listing. Does that make sense?
Yep.
You got to train your people how to be good teammates, right? How many electricians do you think there are in the city of Atlanta? Thousands. Okay, I only need 1 or 2. Don't screw up. I'm not trying to be arrogant here, but we're going to operate the way I want to operate. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, beautiful. What else are we doing well, and what else are we struggling with. Let's just have a kind of an open forum here. Rachel, did we get to see you today? All right, maybe in a few
I have a
minutes.
question.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I have been really putting a lot of effort into getting all my contacts in the database.
Yes, ma'am.
So I feel like I'm getting close to where I've put everybody I can put in there, you know, and now what? Now,
Yep.
I know there's a program through Keller Williams, but what do I do with this group? Now, most of them are like just my friends, my people, my contacts. They're not really a lead or anything. Are there drip campaigns for them? How do I do market updates monthly? I just don't know what to do now.
Okay, good questions. So there is a website, and I believe there's a link to this every day in the monthly or the daily newsletter that they send out from the office. It's called incommandwithsam.com. It is Sam Jackson's YouTube channel. He is the Director of Innovation and Technology for the 3 market centers, and he has a huge amount of video content explaining different features about Command, everything from smart plans to adding people to your database to setting up neighborhood nurtures, these kind of things. So, that is one, that's one place that I would start. Another tool that I would use is, so basically you want to take the time to become an expert in all of the features of Command. So that would be smart plans, the mobile app, the neighborhood nurtures, and these kind of things. The next thing you got to do is you got to just kind of take stock of what is actually in the database, right? Like how many of those people do you have email addresses for? How many of those people do you have cell phone numbers for? Do you have any of their mailing addresses? Do you have notes on everybody? Do you have birthdays? Do you have the any of that kind of thing? And then we're going to go.
I have mostly. Okay, go ahead. I thought that was a question. Go ahead.
So then we're going to go through the list of your clients, and we're going to use this script packet here, Agent Pivot Scripts, okay? And then you got to love on them, because now they just are kind of organized, for lack of a better way to put it. They just happen to be condensed in one location. But how thorough and updated and accurate that information is a totally different discussion. And so you're going to have to go in one by one, or maybe not have to, but I highly recommend that you go in one by one and call them and ask them how they're doing. Ask them how their work is. Ask them how their family is. Ask them if they're healthy. Ask them if anyone needs anything. Because remember, we can only make withdrawals when we make deposits. As I've mentioned to you guys before, I don't have any money at Bank of America. Okay, I closed my last account with them 15 something years ago. So I walk into Bank of America and I'd say, hey, I'm Bill Linkwald, I'd like some money. They're like, who the hell are you? Right? They're like, we need an account number. And I say, well, I ain't got one. They're like, do you understand how this whole thing works? Right? You got to have an account here in order to get money. Right? And I say, oh yeah. So then I go across the street and I go to Wells Fargo, where I have a lot of accounts. Right? And I walk in and I don't even have to say who I am. They're like, hey, Bill, where do you want the money from today? Right? Because I've got a lot of accounts with them and I've made a lot of deposits with them. Does that make sense? So whenever I come in and I say, hey, I'd like something, they're like, oh my gosh, of course. Would you like a coffee black today? Right? Because they know who I am and because I've done business with them. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yes.
So you want to
during those conversations, do you like, hey, because I think people love when people love on their children.
Yeah.
Like you earn like bonus points when you love on their children. So it's like, how do you say, what are your all's birthdays? You know what I mean? Like how, because I would love to be able to send little somethings to their children on their birthdays, you know? How do you work that into the conversation without?
I know this is going to sound really, really kind of blunt. I'm not trying to sound like an ass here.
I like blunt. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you one thing that you've got to commit to doing before you ask this question. You've got to commit to not dropping the ball, right? So if you get somebody on the phone and they give you their 3 kids' birthdays, don't screw it up. You better do something on those birthdays. So you better have it systematized and you better commit to that, where if you're going to ask for the data, you better do something about it. Make sense? So that should be the first commitment that you make, right? Am I going to be able to pull this off, right? The second, I'm going to assume you're going to say yes to that, okay? And number two, can you do that at scale, right? So if you've got to keep up with 6 birthdays, of course you could do that. Can you keep up with 600? Are you willing to? Is that going to be a pillar of your business? Does that make sense?
Got it. Yeah.
So number one, you want to make sure that you can commit to that at scale. By the way, committing to it at scale does not necessarily have to mean that you do it, right? Committing to it at scale could be my assistant tells me every day whose birthday it is, and she texts them, and she goes on to LinkedIn and says happy birthday, and she goes on to Facebook and says happy birthday, and she sends me a list of the people, and I decide if I'm going to reach out to any of them individually. Does that make sense? So everything is going to be accomplished through technology or a system or a person. Okay.
Okay.
That's all the leverage is. Now, the way you get that information, all right, can we role play?
Yes.
All right, I'm the agent and you're the person whose kids I want their birthdays.
Okay.
Okay. Hey, Liz, how's it going today?
Hey, Bill, how are you? I'm doing great.
Yeah, awesome. So I just wanted to just take a minute. It's been a little while since we last spoke. I just wanted to check in to see, kind of crazy out there today. I just wanted to see how things are going for you and your family.
Things are going well. Kids are driving me crazy, but everybody's healthy.
Okay. Are they in like a camp this summer, or are they around the house? What do you guys have planned? Do you have anything interesting planned?
No, not too much planned. They're pretty much around the house, maybe one beach trip.
Oh, but where are you going to go?
Maybe somewhere around the Destin area.
Yeah. Okay. Do you always go to Destin, or would this be your first time?
Yeah. No, we like the Panhandle. We like the beach down there.
Awesome. You going to stay in like an Airbnb or something?
Yeah, we're trying to pick somewhere that has more of a private beach and not a condo, so we get some, social distancing in there.
Okay. Would it just be your family that goes, or do you meet other friends or family that go down there?
We got a couple other friends that are going to go with us, so all the kids can occupy each other.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay. So how's work? Are you guys working from home, or are you back at the office, or what's that look like?
Yeah, Mickey's a teacher, so she's at home, but the school's going to ramp up on August 13th, and, I'm a real estate agent.
No, I'm the real estate agent.
I'm working from home.
I'm the real estate agent.
I'm a very wealthy banker, and so but I've been working from home.
Okay. So is everyone in your world safe? Anybody that needs any help by chance that you're aware of?
I don't think so. I think we're doing really well, actually. Been pretty lucky.
Okay.
No COVID contacts.
Well, one of the things that you're actually supposed to ask me about my business, because I asked you about yours.
Oh, sorry. How's business, Bill? How's the market doing?
The market's great. It's we're able to help a lot of buyers and sellers. There's a lot of activity out there. Kind of wish there was some more homes to sell, but we're having fun. We're keeping safe with all the social distancing and helping people get into the homes with the appropriate protections and all that kind of stuff. There's one thing I wanted to ask you about. One of the commitments that I've made to my business this year is really to make an extra effort to recognize the birthdays of my clients' kids. And I don't know any better way to ask you than just simply to say, I'd like to, recognize your kids' birthdays, and I just want to make sure that I have them recorded properly. Would it be okay if you shared those dates with me?
Yeah, sure, Bill. I'd love to.
Okay, what are they?
Write down all 10. Ready?
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Have you had 10 children since we last spoke? You might need a bigger house, right?
Right. I've got 2, Bill. May 2nd and June 6th.
Okay. And Sarah's the older one, is that right?
Yeah, Sarah is June 6th.
Cool. And is there anything that they're really into that you think they'd appreciate for just to be recognized once a year?
Oh, Sarah loves her soccer, And Julian loves his Minecraft right now.
Oh, okay. Right. Writing it all down. Right. Or typing it all in or whatever. Okay. Okay. Well, Liz, let me ask you one last thing. Is there anything that you need right now? As you know, I'm, talking to buyers and sellers all the time, and, oftentimes people have questions about a home vendor, or maybe, what a home is listed for, or maybe they want to, some extra pictures of the property they're curious about. We've got lots of resources that we can help you with. Can you think of anything that I can do to help you right now?
Bill, I've been curious about what my neighborhood's doing. I would love to know, I know the Joneses on the corner just sold their house, but I don't know what it went for. Can you let me know what's going on there?
Yeah, absolutely. So not only can I send you the report, the MLS report of that property, so you can kind of see, how long was it on the market for, what do the pictures look like, what it ultimately sold for. I'd love to get that for you. But even additionally, I can send you my mobile app, and the mobile app allows you to do any searching you'd like by neighborhoods. So you can look at your leisure for properties nearby, or maybe out of town, or maybe down in Destin if you guys ever decide to invest in a property down there. And we also have something called the Neighborhood Nurture, where I can send you a custom link once a month or even once every 2 weeks, where you can see the sales data and sales activity in your particular neighborhood according to the next door neighborhood map. So you can see like how many homes are on the market and how quickly homes are selling. Would that be something you'd be interested in taking a closer look at?
Yeah, that'd be cool. I like looking at houses, even though we're not ready to sell yet. I still like looking. So both of those would be great.
Beautiful. All right. So you're still at 123 Main Street, right?
Yep.
All right. Wonderful.
Yes.
Well, Liz, it's really a pleasure chatting with you today. I appreciate you sharing the information about your kids and their birthdays, and I'm really looking forward to May, when I can share something with them and make them feel good on that day. And I just want to let you know, remind you, I'm here to help any way possible. So please let me know if there's anything I can do for you. Okay. And please say hello to your husband and the kids for me. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Couple questions. Did that sound salesy?
No, it sounded like you really wanted to do, acknowledge my kids and, make it a special day for them, and, just really wanted to be helpful to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Did that sound intrusive in any way? Did it sound like I was like prying into personal stuff when I maybe?
No, it sounded like an honest intro, like this is what I really would like to do at the next level of my business. And, and it was good. Yeah.
Right. And what a consumer hears when they hear somebody say something like that is that you actually have some vision and some direction for your business, that you've actually thought about how to be unique. Right.
Right. Yeah.
And
okay.
You can think all you want to think, but if you don't share it with anybody, then they don't know it's unique. Right. And so,
right.
is there proof or evidence that that's something that is meaningful to you in your business? So like for example, when you meet with a seller and they have children, do you bring over like a little little card game, or do you bring over a little coloring book, or do you bring over some stickers or something like that? I mean, I'm not talking about spending tons of money. Like you could probably literally do this for $2.
Right.
Right. Is that
I really like the idea
that speaks to you?
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah. Yep. Because
right?
I also like the idea that we got the other day of bringing a gift to a listing presentation. And if I know that there are kids there, goodness, if I got them something to occupy them while we were doing the listing presentation, that is just, I love that idea.
And it's kind of like this idea of, when you go to the dentist, they give you a toothbrush, right? When you go to the doctor, they give you some balloons or whatever. Like it ties like a positive feeling to the interaction, right?
Right. Okay.
I mean,
awesome. Thank you.
Just to say, you could call up these people and say, you could just send like a text that, I mean, this is popping in my head right now. Let's say you got a 3 o'clock appointment at a seller's home, and you text them at 2:15. You say, hey, I'm going to be heading over from the other side of town. I'm going to swing by and get a cup of coffee. Can I get you one?
Right.
If they were to say yes, I mean, you bring over a little Frappuccino or whatever, they're like, the other agent didn't do that, right? And if
Right,
they say no,
right,
you get equal credit and you save $4,
right, right.
right? I'm just
Yep.
like, there's a lot of realtors out there, guys. It's like, is there anything that you can do that is going to surprise them and delight them so that they remember that you're a pleasure to spend time with? Does that make sense?
Yep.
All right.
I have a surprise and delight for today,
Oh, share it.
and then I'll let somebody else talk. Somebody on my Facebook Messenger, just somebody I used to work with several years ago, saw something that I did on Facebook. Oh, I said, I posted something. By the way, this got great interaction. I said, what is the one thing you want in your next house? And I had a ton of people put stuff on there, and she saw that and she messaged me and she said, by the way, I saw it. I love your kid, blah, blah, blah. You know, by any chance, my parents are moving. Would you happen to know of anybody that's done with their moving boxes? I wasn't going to get a sale out of this. You know, they've already, done what they're doing. And so I found, I got on my Facebook. I asked my friends, somebody happened to have a bunch of moving boxes and paper they were done with. I delivered them this morning and they adore me right now.
Yeah, that's making deposits, right? That's surprising and delighting is in fact making deposits, right?
Yep.
But I'd tell you, one of the very first people that I ever met as a real estate agent, my wife was moving into my place, and she had a washer and dryer that she didn't need anymore. And so we put it on Craigslist, and we got this guy who, I'm a little sensitive to this. After about 12 years of courting him, he ended up using a different realtor. But I'm cool with that. Don't worry. I'm okay. But for about 12 years, I thought I was going to get paid. And this is somebody that was like buying something for the home. And I even thought to myself, I'm like, why don't I just buy and sell a bunch of home related crap, and I'll make a couple bucks sometimes and I'll lose a couple bucks sometimes, and who cares? I'll just grow my database, right? Oh, you need a washer and dryer? You're buying one, you're selling one, you need a little toaster oven, whatever. I'm not saying build your business around that. I'm just saying, God, there's opportunity everywhere, right? All you got to do is do something the next guy's not willing to do. See what I'm saying?
Right. Yep.
Okay, cool. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, who else wants to comment? What are we doing well? How are we surprising and delighting people? What are we struggling with in particular? Anyone?
Well, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
It has to do with a couple of the people that I spoke to in my sphere. They have an interest in information on building their own homes. And I was wondering, what would my role in that be as an agent? Is it just helping them to find a lot? Is it helping them to find a community under construction and hooking them up with a builder? How do I provide them with information?
There's actually a bunch of questions that that need to be addressed with that question. So let's back up for a second. Okay. There's a lot in there I want to make sure we cover. Okay, if somebody is going to buy a new construction home, okay, you can go to a builder and like if they want to be in a community, right? Like, with like a sign out in front, maybe a swim and tennis, like an organized community, right? You're going to go to one of the national builders or one of the big guys, and you're going to go in, and they're either going to have a property that's built already or that's almost built, or they're going to say, okay, that's lot 17, and you can put one of these 4 floor plans on there, right? And then somebody can get a brand new home or get a new build, yet not have to go through like a construction to perm loan, or not have to go hire an architect, and not have to, deal with all the general contractors and vendors and all that kind of stuff individually. Plus, they can go in and get just a regular loan, right? And the home they happen to buy is brand new. That's quite frankly the simplest way to do it. Okay. But if somebody is looking, and you would be protected and typically earn 3% on that, sometimes even a little bit more. Okay. The property may or may not be an FMLS, but generally there's usually an example of something that's available at that community in MLS that will get you in the door, and then you go to the builder. Let's say it's Lennar or something, and Lennar says, okay, well, we've got, we're finishing up this phase, and so we have these 4 lots, and one of them's in a cul-de-sac, and one of them's, in the first house in the neighborhood, and the, Meredith plan will fit over there, and the Hamilton plan will fit over there, and the, Brownstone plan will fit over there, right? Oh, what, you need a basement? Okay, well, that's the only basement lot, right? You kind of go through all of the different, opportunities at the neighborhood, and you would be able to be paid a full commission on the total sale. So let's say the whole sale was 380, you'd be paid 3% generally on the 380. Okay. And then of course, how big the home is, or, particularly now when some people are working and some aren't, how long is all that going to take? You'll get all that information as you're starting to ask the questions. Another way to do it is, let's say the guy or woman does not want to live in a neighborhood. Then what they're probably going to need to do is either be in touch directly with a builder, right? That would just kind of do a private experience, right? And you might go to the builder and say, hey, I'm looking to spend, a total of $700,000. How do you work, right? Do you go and acquire the lot? Do I go and acquire the lot? Do I go and acquire the lot and hire the architect and you come in, right? So a lot of builders and architects work very differently. Generally speaking, you would be paid on the acquisition of the lot and probably not be paid on the build of the property. Okay. However, remember, you still want to be involved because, obviously you're trying to help people, right? Make sense? So
Yes.
not to muddy the waters, but there's 1,000 questions you need to ask up front. One is, what did you have in mind? Do you want to work with a private architect and private builder? Do you have any interest in buying in a community that is, being built right now? Do you want acreage? Obviously, if they want acreage, they're probably not going to go into like a, your kind of run-of-the-mill type production builder. But if they just want a new property, then they should search on MLS for where those are located, right? You also have a lot of, like, you guys know what infill housing is? You know that phrase?
No, what's that?
What is it?
What's called infill housing.
No.
So infill housing is essentially, let's say you're starting to see this in like the Highlands or parts of Midtown, or definitely parts of Brookhaven. We're starting to see it a lot in Toco Hills and Emory area. It's basically where the property has kind of run its course, if you will. And the value of the property is worth more simply based on where it's at than what it looks like. I'll give you an example. I live over near Emory, and a property that is what people might call a tear down. Let me come back to that, Jan. A property, let's say it's an old 1950s ranch or something like that, and it's not been updated and it's not in the greatest shape, right? Somebody wants to live in this area because it's a nice area, right? It's close to a lot of stuff, the hospitals, the city, the park and all that, right? And they want a big house, right? But most of the properties that are, not brand new are old, right? So they buy the home, then they pay somebody to knock down the home. They pay somebody to clear the land and make the drawings for how to build a more impressive home, right? So I'll give you a rough number. Like, for example, if somebody were to buy a house near my house, they're probably going to pay somewhere in the neighborhood of like $375 to $400, depending on what the lot looked like, then tear down the home. And it really only makes financial sense for them to build like a 1.1, 1.2 home on it, right? Because the land is just so expensive, right? That's kind of what we're seeing a lot in Brookhaven. Makes sense? Brookhaven lots used to go for 250. Now they go for 450 sometimes, depending on how big the lot is and how nice the backyard is, or if it would allow a basement, or if it's on the corner, or it could fit a pool, these kind of things. Does that make sense? So infill housing is when you drive through, let's say like the Highlands or Brookhaven or over near Emory, or you're starting also to see it in like the Oak Grove High School District over near like North Lake Mall. You don't see it too much out in the suburbs. You usually see it a little bit more in town, where you kind of got a row of these old 1950s, 1960s ranches, and then somebody's bought one, knocked it down, and put like a big $1 million house in its place. Does that make sense? Which makes it particularly hard to comp. What? You froze up a bit. Say that one more time.
If anybody does have a property like that, I have a builder who, if you allow them to put their sign there to kind of show you, show you what they'll build, and they go with that builder, you're going to make about an extra $7,500.
Who would make?
If you have a listing like that, the agent and the seller.
Okay, Jan says she has a builder that wants to put a sign on my lot. What do you think? What should I ask him? Is that what you're explaining, Liz?
No, well, I have
you're fuzzy. Say that one.
If I have a listing like that, sorry, I'm in the backwoods. If I have a listing that's a tear down,
yeah.
If I allow them to put their sign on my lot next to my for sale sign, and they go and the buyer goes with that builder, I will make an extra $7,500, and the seller will make an extra $7,500. Did you get that?
And so is that what you're is that what you think, Jan, you're being asked to do?
Yes, he wants to put his sign on my lot in Alpharetta. Now he only wants to compensate me $1,000.
No, I'll get you the builder, and they'll compensate you $7,500 if they go with that builder.
And what should you ask somebody like that? What are the liability for my client? I've seen it done, but I don't know anything about it. I've never talked to anybody who's done it personally. So
I've also never talked to anyone that's done that personally. I think that's probably a question either for Melba or for Aubrey, but one thing I could see is you could get some inquiries from people that aren't necessarily attracted to that lot, but maybe kind of find the picture of the home that you put on that sign to be kind of curious and attractive, right?
Yeah, it's just more or less an advertisement for you to choose that builder instead of a different one. That's
of course. And that builder, if you're going to enter into some relationship like that, needs to be scripted on how to help you build your business, right? So if somebody comes in and says, "Oh my gosh, this is a $700,000 home," and they want to build a home that doesn't fit, something I don't do or an area I don't work in or whatever, can I share the lead with you? You're like, yeah, that's the whole point.
Yep.
Right. So I can see that as an opportunity. I would check with Melba on how, in terms of liability issues or the exact, like if there needs to be any paperwork involved. I've actually never thought about that. That's a good idea. It's funny you guys both said that.
If there's and if you want my builder's contact information, you just contact me and I'll get you in touch with him.
Well, heck yeah.
Because you need to make more money. You need to make more money on that.
Versus $1,000,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Plus my clients make money as well, so.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
100%. 100%.
Yep.
That's a cool idea. That's a cool idea. Good job, guys. Okay, let's talk about who's struggling. I'm going to ask you guys to be vulnerable because you're probably not the only one, and we're in a safe space here. And you know, we're here to help each other. So who's struggling? What can I do to help you? Life is good? Life is good? Okay. Let's do this. I mean, I can go in 1,000 different directions, but is there any particular topic or questions that you have that you'd like me to go over today? First one speaks, gets it covered.
So if we want to hold an open house for somebody, because I need some transactions, I've got to
Yes, ma'am.
drum up something quickly. How do I just go on the community Facebook page and just post, say I'm available?
Yeah, that'd be a good place to start. Absolutely.
Okay. All right.
Absolutely. We did that in here a couple of days ago when Pam and I had a listing, or Pam had a listing. Miranelli volunteered to host it. Place had multiple offers before Sunday came. Miranelli got a buyer out of it, and we got the home under contract. So I mean, it was like a win-win-win-win-win for everybody. So yeah, does anyone have an open house that they would like some support from Liz at this weekend? If it's not in here, then absolutely go to the Georgia Legacy Group or the Roswell page. And
Okay.
our suggestion is build some relationships with agents that tend to have a lot of listings and that need to have somebody help with the marketing. And again, that just gives you a piece of, I don't want to call it bait, but it gives you an opportunity to make some phone calls or knock some doors or host an open house or do a Facebook ad or, you know, share it on social media, these kind of things. Right, you want something to talk about.
The other thing that I was going to do for my listing, but I did get my listing under contract. Yay!
Nice.
Yay.
But I was going to hold an open house on Friday because that is the holiday for a lot of people who are actually working. And it doesn't interfere with their drinking on Saturday and their recovery on Sunday. So obviously I drink a little bit, so I've thought about this.
I think that's a great idea. So are you going to, do you have a place to do that? Do you have an open house that you're thinking about doing that at?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Oh, I was going to do it for my own listing, but I got it under contract last night, so.
Okay. Cool. So now's a good time to call the neighbors, say, hey, we got a contract. You know, I know that when this home sells, it's going to have an impact on your equity and your value. And I was just wanted to let you know that the market's hot. Do you know of anyone that wants to sell? And would you like me to call you when this home sells to give you the update on the value? By the way, do you have any questions? Right.
Can I share the price that it went under contract? I can't, right?
No.
Well, technically there's no rule against it. I just don't see a lot of reason why you would do that.
Okay.
Right.
Well, I don't either, because in case it falls out.
Exactly. So if you feel comfortable sharing, what was it listed at?
It was originally listed at 260.
Okay.
We lowered the price to 250. And guys, this is I really want to talk to and speak to new agents here about thinking outside the box, because
Great. Floor is yours.
We lowered the price to 250 and I got feedback, and getting feedback is very difficult from agents. So try to give feedback when you can and don't be ugly about it. And so this guy gave feedback and said, well, he's somewhat interested, but not having a driveway and a carport and taking the tree out so they could have a new driveway was an issue for him. The cost is about $5,000. Well, I had a conversation with my client about reducing the price again. And we were going to wait until after the holiday weekend and reduce the price again, $5,000. So I went to that other agent and I said, what if, knowing that my client's already wrapped his mind around reducing the price $5,000, I said, what if we give your client $5,000 worth of closing costs, and you can get him what he needs, and I can get my client what he needs. And so we were able to put a deal together, and everybody's getting what they want. And, you know, and one of the things is when they're asking you for something, you should get something in return. And what I try to always get in return is a fast closing, because the longer it's under contract, the longer it has to fall out. So we're closing in 20 days.
Yeah, and unfortunately, you know, I have a guy that I play poker with every once in a while, and he's a pilot. He just got his letter that says he's being furloughed, right? Like, some of these people are one phone call away from not having a job, and they don't have a job they can't buy anymore, right? So that fantastic job. I mean, that's kind of a version of that line that I've used a lot, which is, you know, what would have to happen for you to submit an offer, right? What would have to happen for us to start working together today?
I have a sign in front of my desk that says, how can I help you get what you want so that I get what I want?
I love that, Jan. I love that. And asking that question super direct, like Liz and I were doing a few minutes ago, like, how do we find out what the kids' birthdays are? Well, you ask. Now, is it going to sound a little strange if you just come out and ask? Yeah, probably. So explain why that's important, right? Do you think they'd be willing to share the kids' birthdays if they knew that somebody was going to send them a little present and make them happy? Well, yeah, right? And we're talking about, like, I mean, a little present could literally be like a $3 or $4 like gift card for the local Brewsters or whatever, right? Would y'all be willing to spend $4 on an ice cream cone so that you get a listing or a referral? I think that's an intelligence test, right? So that's an easy one. Now, what Jan did is she basically said, hey, my seller's willing to work with us work with me on the marketing price, right? The list price. Why don't I just go back to the person who already seems to want this home, just has one objection, and see if I can't make a deal happen. So I don't know if these were the exact words you used, but you probably said something to the effect of, what would have to happen for us to go under contract? And they say, well, I'd have to have enough money to, you know, pull this tree out and repave the driveway. Say, okay, let's do that. Let's make it happen, right?
Well, my client, it's a long convoluted story, but we worked it out. And basically what I told the guy was, you know, hey, you want this house for your client, but it doesn't have this, you know, and my client really wants to get this house sold. And I was honest with the agent, and, you know, right up front, and I hate to say this, but, you know, right up front, if you're dealing with the snake or just an honest, hardworking agent. And
or the third option is a total idiot.
Exactly. So, you know, if they're an idiot or a hardworking agent, then they're so easy to help them help their client, because you know what it's going to take, and they will tell you right up front what it's going to take.
Exactly.
So you can bring their side and you can bring your side to the middle, and if you initiate the conversation, you can be the winner for your client.
100%.
The winner for the buyer when you know you're on the market another 3 weeks.
I love how you said that. I mean, you're taking initiative. You're basically saying, hey, if it's going to be, it's up to me. That's kind of what we talked about this morning, right? We're gonna have an accountable attitude around how to make this work. And by the way, I'm not. Please don't hear that I think, you know, some agents are morons, but we've all worked with agents that are not really good at what they do. And oftentimes the best agent does their job and the other agent's job. And I'm totally cool with that. I've dragged a lot of poor realtors to the closing table, but you know what? My client was happy, and that's the end of the story. That's all that matters, right?
And really at the end of the day, you know, my client's ecstatic because he's not going to have to pay another hard money loan payment at the end of the month.
That's right.
Because we're going to get under contract and close hopefully right before that payment's due. And even if it's due now that he'll be that close to the closing date, you know, even if we have to push it a couple of days, because I think it's iffy if we'll get it closed by the 23rd because of the holiday.
Right. So Jan works with a lot of investors that are using hard money, which is not conventional financing, right? Which tends to be more expensive. And so oftentimes Jan's clients are swayed by closing faster, but that's not always the case, right? So you got to ask those questions that say, what is most important to your client, right? We're about to submit an offer. Is there anything that I should know? Is there anything in particular that your seller is curious about or wants to have in that offer so that I can share it with my client? Right. And I also I developed pretty good relationships with a lot of my clients over the years. And, I'd kind of, there were many times where I'd say, are you cool with this? I think I can get a little bit more out of him. Let me just, what's the lowest you'll go? Can I have a little flexibility with how I negotiate this? And they'll say, yeah, you can go down to 250. And I'll go to the other side and say, oh my gosh, I've spent the last 3 hours trying to get my guy to this number. But if you can do 252, we got a deal. And they're like, okay, fine. And then I call my guy back. I'm like, let's do it. You just made $2,000 extra. Now, do they think I'm a champion or what? Right? We're I'm not saying we're not authentic, but we're actors to some degree, right?
Well,
Like
both
saying,
sides,
oh my gosh, your wife had to move to Chicago to take her new job. Wow, so you're at home all by yourself, taking care of dinners, lunches, and making the beds and cleaning up the yard. Oh my goodness.
and both sides have to feel like they're winning for you to be able to put a deal together that way. Because if it's only the buyer winning, then the seller will go kicking and screaming. And Bill and I have, it took me kicking and screaming all the way to get to where I am with this, because I've had some deals that were really tough, but the ones that are easy are like this, where everybody wins.
Right. And you've dealt with, I made a conscious effort to not pursue investors. You didn't make that commitment. And so a lot of the people that you have dealt with over the years have been less emotional and more money driven. My clients in general are the opposite, right? Which you have to have a different type of skill set to work with folks like that, right? So some are strictly concerned about the numbers, and some don't really care about the numbers as long as it's reasonable or they feel good about it, or, these kind of things. You see what I'm saying? Or they wrote my client a note, and now my client's willing to lay down a few $1,000s because they have an emotional connection to this person, right? I never really, personally, I didn't really like working with investors that much because there was no emotion in it, right? They'd say, I'd like a deal with $80,000 worth of equity, and I'd bring them one with 50, and they're like, this doesn't work. I'm like, let me get this straight. You want me to give you $50,000 in exchange for 3%, and then you're going to tell me no? I don't think I'm going to work with this. Does that make sense? All right, cool. You guys, I just want to thank you for your hard work. I know many of us are feeling overwhelmed by the amount of stuff that is coming at us from a technology standpoint, from a training standpoint. What I encourage you guys to do at the beginning of the week was to set a goal for how many listing appointments you're going to go on in the month of July. I believe, with the exception of maybe Rachel and Heather, I don't have a number. And when you're setting this number and when you're thinking about it all month, I want you to think about why you got into this business, right? We're going to talk about this quite a bit on Monday when we were developing the GPS and the 411. By the way, Monday 1 to 3, I'm running a whole seminar on the GPS and the 411. In other words, business planning tools, right? And we're going to talk about how we don't just set a goal and throw a random number out there, and that's what our business does. We actually do it the complete opposite, which is to say, what what am I trying to fund and why is that important to me? And then you make your business do that. The business is a vehicle to hit our financial goals, among other goals, right? So we're gonna, I really want you to focus on why are we doing what we're doing, right? What is it that's gonna, what do we have to remind ourselves of constantly so that we can stay on track with the activities that we know have to get done, okay? I had a last minute cancellation thing for the lunch thing tomorrow. I am still trying to get somebody to speak. I'll keep you guys up to speed on that. And y'all keep up your hard work, okay? Please update your numbers. I had to give my coach some low numbers because many of you haven't reported. So please report when you can, okay?
On mine, it says view only. So do I request to be able to change it, or how do I do that?
Yeah, I'm not sure why it says that. Sometimes you have to be logged into the system to actually, or logged into like your Gmail or your KW account, and it automatically gives.
I'm logged in. I just hit, it says ask the owner to be an editor.
So go ahead and hit that and I'll give you permission right away.
Okay.
All right, see y'all tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Thanks,
Yep.
Jan.
Bye.
Great, guys. Thank you. Bye.